Hello, everyone. Been away for a little bit. Welcome into Above My Pay Grade. My name is Eric. Changing up the channel a little bit. YouTube's kind of giving me the runaround. So I'm going to shrink down the number of videos I do to once a week and try to go more in depth on one topic, whether that be the debt ceiling, government spending, the Fed, whatever. But I'd love your recommendations. So in this video, if you guys would drop your comments, if you have an idea you'd like me to cover in the video, drop it in the comments below, and I'll study that a little bit more in depth, and I'll bring more of a researched instead of reacting to the news, because there's going to be a lot of it since we're going through these economic times of turmoil. Right now, I feel like I'm it's constantly squirrel, because there's always something going on in the financial world, but there's a lot of subjects that I think people need a more in-depth understanding of, including myself, like just the way money works, for instance, how debt works, how mortgages work, why houses are expensive, a lot of things that your average citizen does not know, and I'd like to do more research on in depth. So if you guys have those ideas, drop them in the comments below. So let's get to the topic of this video, the national debt. So as you know, we spend more than we make. We make money in taxes, and we spend it out on a myriad of different things: military, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, among other things. But we spend more than we make. That spending is called deficit, and that deficit spending is going up every single year. And now that deficit spending has added up to about 32 trillion in debt. What's the problem with that? Well, if we don't raise our national debt, we're going to go into some series of consequences, which I wanted to talk about. This is from U.S. News. One of the consequences of not raising the debt ceiling is slashing government services. Count me in. I love that idea, slashing government services. But I'll talk about the consequences here in a second. But it really comes down to, what do politicians want to spend money on? Just like you, when you have money coming in, you choose what it goes to. And when you run out of money, you either have to go out and get a credit card. And for us in the country, that credit card is deficit spending. But if they don't raise the debt ceiling, we cannot deficit spend. So we have to keep within our tax revenue, which is a big problem for the government, because they like spending more than they take in taxes. And we've perpetually done that for years. So we've gotten used to it. So now things like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the military rely on deficit spending. So yes, they'd have to slash government services, but one government service they would not slash is the interest on their debt. Right? Because if you were reliant on credit cards in your daily life to pay your bills, the one thing you don't want to do is default on that credit card, because that would stop you paying all the other bills. The same thing goes with government. If they default on paying interest on the treasuries they've sold to foreign nations or pensions, they default on that. That hinders their ability to take on debt in the future, because it lowers their credit score, and therefore makes borrowing in the future more expensive. So that's the one thing. And they will rob from Peter to pay Paul on that one. They will sell things. They will do whatever they need to not default, because defaulting on the debt isn't just a United States problem. It would be a world problem. It would be the equivalent of if everyone around the world stopped paying on their mortgages all at once. What do you think would happen to banks? They would implode. So if everyone around the world who holds government treasuries, which is nearly every sovereign nation, U.S. government treasuries, stop getting paid, that would be a very big problem for everyone involved. So do I think that they're going to default? No. But it's still a possibility. So yes, slashing government spending, higher interest rates, which I mentioned before. If they default, if they do not pay on time, which they will eventually raise the debt ceiling, it's just a matter of time, right? Because we have a little piggy bank that we pay our bills through called the Treasury General Account. And that Treasury General Account is getting lower and lower and lower. And when it gets to zero, there's no more money to go around. They'll sell things. They'll rob from Peter to pay Paul. They'll figure out ways to get money. But it becomes very difficult to pay all their bills. And if they're going to choose one, it is going to be treasury debt. But all those people that own treasuries are going to say, hey, listen, Janet, I don't think you have the ability to pay me back, or at least it's more risky than before. So what I want is a higher interest rate when I loan you money. just like your credit card company. If you default, if you have a low credit score, guess what they want? A higher interest rate. It all has to do with risk in the market. And a lot of people think the United States is risk-free. Just look at our balance sheet, 32 trillion. Does that say risk-free to you? Not to me. Of course, you're already seeing market panic, but there will be pandemonium because the bedrock of all finance around the world is government treasuries. That's usually what banks buy, insurance companies buy. When you put money in to an insurance company or a bank, normally they take those deposits and they buy treasuries with it. They get yield on the money you're depositing. So if all of a sudden those treasuries stop paying out the interest, then all of a sudden there was way more risk in the market than anybody realized. All the things that they're holding aren't worthless, but they're worth less than they were before, if that makes sense. Run on money markets. Yes, anybody that's holding treasuries in money market funds going to have issues because right now you see this is a reverse of the banks. Now I said some banks hold treasuries, and yes, they do. This happened in England when the gilts, as they call them, went way up in interest. A lot of the pension funds were holding these gilts, but when a money market or a treasury yields a certain amount of money, people pull their money out of the bank and they're going into money market funds, which yield a lot more than banks do for a variety of reasons. Obviously, political instability. You're getting the picture, right? This would be very bad, right? If we don't pay on our debt, then the whole house of cards comes down. We're already in a house of cards. The wind's blowing, it's shaking, and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to kick one of the cards out all of a sudden and the whole thing come crashing down, don't pay on your debt, which is why I think that's a very, very low possibility. But it's important to note that just because we don't raise the debt ceiling, it doesn't mean we're going to default on our debt. Those two things aren't synonymous. It means we'll cut things, and probably big things, like government spending on military, government spending on Social Security, all the things that they usually use human shields for this, because the things that are going to affect people most, they're going to cut that first. They're not going to cut the butterfly gender research study that they're funding, but they will cut all the things people care about, right? That government actually needs to do. And long-term effects. What do you think people will think about investing with the United States, which is already on rocky ground? That's not to say there will be a replacement for the dollar anytime soon, but the United States is already on rocky ground. What do you think the long-term consequences of literally defaulting, or at least not paying on time, would be, or not raising the debt ceiling in time? We'd have a lot of problems in the market, a lot of problems with trust. And as I've said many times on this channel before, the entire system is built on confidence. And if there is no confidence, then the whole thing comes crashing down. So hope you guys got something out of that. Like I said, I'm going to start making longer form videos with more graphics and a little bit more detail and more research into them. So let me know what you guys would like to see for next week's video. I'm going to try to post them every Monday. They'll be 30 to 45 minutes depending. And hope to see you guys then. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.